Hey, what's up, everybody? Tricky Guy Podcast, Double B Brent Bilski here with you. Former award-winning radio host and former college basketball player, JUCO national champion, overall sports fan. Riding solo with you today, but we got so much to get into. We are still going to have a good time. I have more shots called on the Lamar Jackson debacle. Although, got a good idea where I think he's going to go, so I want to discuss that. We got the NCAA tournament coming up this weekend. By the time we're back, it'll be down to 4. The final 4. I have some predictions there for you. And one more time for the sad sounder, the Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan. If you have not heard the latest updates on the Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan rivalry, maybe the biggest issue to ever come up as far as between those two that were former teammates and now rivals. Unbelievable. So I got plenty of things I want to discuss today, but I want to kick things off with the first and most exciting thing I saw over the weekend. And I don't care what y'all say.
Baseball stuff!
Baseball stuff! I will be the first one to tell you, I am not the hugest baseball fan on the planet, but last night, on a random-ass Tuesday, I might have just seen one of the coolest moments in sports ever. And for people that are not maybe necessarily, you're a sports fan, you're like me, I like basketball, I like football, I like American sports, all right? So United States and Japan, I don't really give two darns about them because I'm about America. I ain't about the Japanese and the football, the soccer and all that, but give me a second to explain what happened last night. It was one of the coolest moments in sports and a huge shot in the arm for Major League Baseball and just baseball around the world. The World Baseball Classic final last night. I don't care what sport you like, and if you've never listened to a baseball segment, listen to this one. I am going to explain. It was one of the coolest moments of all time. Hollywood would have had a hard time writing a script this good. And the way I'll preface this is what I will say is that I don't care what sport it is. It could be cricket. It can be darts. It can be anything. It's something I really don't care about. But if you give me a story, you got my attention. And that's the key to any sports televised product ever in the history of anything. You give me a good storyline, make it simple, give me A, give me B, and give me C to play it out, and you explain to me why I should be interested, and you can catch my interest, I will pay attention. And the World Baseball Classic, which is like the World Cup for baseball, besides the whole country versus country thing, did it so perfectly. So to give you an example of what I mean by just like, just to break it down, ABC, the formula. So a boxing match, you got a guy who's 50-0 and he's knocked everyone out. You got another guy who's 50-0 and he's always taking it to decisions and he's never been knocked out. Then you have them finally, after years or months or whatever it is, meet up, and to see, you got my attention. So you got the guy who's knocked everyone out versus the guy who's never been knocked out. They've beaten everyone else in front of them. Now they come to the final match between the two. Who's going to win? You don't know. The World Cup. Speaking of the World Cup, I don't care about soccer. Who cares about soccer in America? This is America, gosh darn it. But the World Cup final this last year, I will tell you right now, I had a blast. If you never watched soccer, I had a blast with the World Cup final. You had Lionel Messi. So again, they gave me a storyline I could understand. Lionel Messi of Argentina is arguably the greatest soccer player of all time, other than Ronaldo. Those two, that's the new LeBron, Jordan. Then you, of course, have Pele and others. But the newest conversation was always Ronaldo, Messi, World Cup, best player. Ronaldo's never had success in the World Cup. Lionel Messi, it was his final World Cup, and he was a little bit older, but they gave me a story I could understand. Lionel Messi, the old guy, was actually going against France, and who doesn't like to cheer against France, who had a kid, Mbappe, who was the new young up-and-comer that was the next Messi. And in order for Messi to establish himself as the GOAT, he had to win this World Cup final against the new possibly replacement for him in France. They met in the finals. It ended up going to not just the end of the match, it went to penalty kicks afterwards. Lionel Messi scores 2 goals, and France wins in Argentina wins, and he solidified himself as one of the greatest of all time. I felt terrible because at the time I was supposed to be watching my cheerleading niece. I was at a thing at a convention center to watch her. I went outside. I had never had more of a blast watching soccer a day in my life. I was out with some Argentinians. They had it out on this big screen on the outside. I'm talking to a guy who works for the local news station. I watched that final. I've never watched football before, and I had just the best old time, and I was probably ignoring my own family. That's how much the story got to me. So last night, you had the World Baseball Classic. You had the United States versus Japan. Already a good setup as far as like 2 world powers. We're allies now. Weren't always allies, and you had on side A, Team United States with their billion-dollar lineup, with all the Major League Baseball players, all the big names that you know of. Hell, the 9th guy, Turner, hit like 5 home runs in 5 games straight. We had nothing but hitting studs all the way down the block. Then, on the other side, you had Japan. Japan with Shohei Ohtani, who, by the way, they call Showtime, which you can make a lot of names off the show thing, but that's a pretty good one.
All right, you got me. That's an awesome nickname.
Who is, without question right now, the greatest baseball player in Major League Baseball and just in the world. Shohei Ohtani is that dude. He is the only player ever in Major League Baseball's history to start as a pitcher and a hitter in the same All-Star game. That is nuts. That's never been done before. You've had other guys like Ruth way back in the old days that was a good pitcher at one point and obviously a great hitter, but never in the same year is someone been so dominant on both sides of the ball in baseball that he was the starting pitcher and the starting as a hitter on the other side in the same damn All-Star game. Then you had on the United States, by the way, Mike Trout. Mike Trout has always been our guy, kind of the newest Mickey Mantle. You know, even feels like young Mickey Mantle. You know, has the speed, the power. You can watch videos of Mike Trout at those damn, the golfing, like the goofy golfing fun. You know what I'm talking about. And he can blast a drive 400 yards. This guy oozes charisma, natural talent, the look, everything. Represents America down to the fullest. So in the World Baseball Classic, it went down to the 2 top teams, defending gold medalist, defending medalist Japan with their roster with the best player in the world versus United States with our billion-dollar lineup. It went down to the 9th inning. It went down to the final pitch, and it went down to the last run in the last game. It was unbelievable drama. And, oh, by the way, the thing that added even more to it, as now I'm looking back, Japanese announcers. There's not even question on the GOAT. This is just to get in. So let me show you the first clip, just to get in to set the scene a little bit and why you should have paid attention to what happened on a random-ass Tuesday last night as a sports fan. This was after they beat Mexico in the semifinal just to get in. Japanese announcers are by far the best announcers in the history of anything, and I'll put them up against the great Spanish soccer announcers and everything else. They hit a walk-off to get into the final, and this was the call for that. Awesome. Celebrate. Japanese announcers know what they're doing, man. They just know what they're doing. And, oh, by the way, don't think it gets lost on me as I talk about this, how good the Japanese announcers were, that I think our arguably best announcer of all time is named Harry Carey.
Cubs win! Cubs win!
And the fact is, harikari is a famous Japanese phrase which means disembowelment, but a very popular, so you got Harry Carey versus harikari, when it comes to even the announcer battle. I mean, does it get any better?
What does that do? Did that blow your mind?
Hey, you ever stabbed yourself and spilled your guts out for respect? Hey, the moon was made of cheese, would you eat it? So the point being, after all is said and done, it gets down to the dream matchup. So, did I forget to mention, by the way, that our best player and their best player are teammates? They're on the same team. So after all is said and done, after all the countries, after all the World Baseball Classic, it's, by the way, one of the most watched baseball World Classics of all time. Last night's final between the United States and Japan was one of the most watched games, arguably, in baseball history. So it comes down, United States, Japan, it gets down to 3-2, and oh, by the way, in the final at-bat, because Shohei Ohtani comes in for the final inning, he has not pitched relief since 2016 in Japan, never in the United States. He comes in relief to help Japan try to win the whole thing, and he goes against our guy, Mike Trout. And oh, by the way, they just happen to have been teammates for years and have never faced each other ever in their history professionally.
What does that do? Did that blow your mind?
Hollywood, if Hollywood wrote this script, you would call a little BS. You honestly would. I mean, if baseball could not get your attention at this point with the drama that they built from all this. And, oh, by the way, Shohei Ohtani in that at-bat throws absolute gas. He is filthy. He's the best player in the world. He's the best pitcher in the world, arguably one of the best hitters in the world. The dude is insane. It is the ninth inning. It is the score 3-2. It is down to a 3-2 count. Final out, final at-bat for the first time in 6 years. Shohei Ohtani, the best player in the world, goes against America's best player, Mike Trout, in a end-all, be-all, man on first, if I'm not mistaken, possible game-winning situation. And in the end, it came down to one pitch. After Shohei Ohtani got to 3-2, by the way, 4 of his 6 pitches were over 100 miles an hour. And after it was all the dust cleared, it came down to one pitch for it all, and it went down like this.
Ohtaniか、トラウトか。空振り最後は大谷翔平が締めくくった。侍ジャパン WBC 王座奪還。
Damn it, they're good.
14年ぶりの歓喜。
So Japan got us. But I don't give a damn. I have never been, other than, like I said, for a sport I don't care about, other than like when I thought of the World Cup and they sold me the whole Messi storyline and going against the young guy and it came down to penalty kicks and Messi scored 2 goals and he solidified himself as today's GOAT. That was great. But the just absolute randomness and the unbelievable amount of just luck and Hollywood scripting and the universe coming together for a moment in baseball, as I will re-encapsulate, this has got to be one of the best stories ever told one more time. It was arguably the most watched baseball game in history. Japan comes out and supports their guys. They estimate around 60 million people are watching. It was the defending gold medalist against the United States. It was 2 teammates who had never faced each other. It was the best player in baseball against the best American player in baseball. It was the best pitcher who, by the way, had never pitched relief in the last 5-6 years. He comes out for 1 inning, and it just happens because of the batting order, has to face his own teammate, the other best player, United States' best chance in a 1-run game, and it came down to a 3-2 pitch. And in the end, they got the victory in one of the most exciting sports things I've ever I lost my mind.
Well, then everyone loses their minds.
And Japan won. But I don't care. It was a great thing for baseball. It was an unbelievable moment. And if you missed it, you missed out. If you missed it, you really missed out. Don't be one of those people who always goes, well, I don't really watch that sport. No. Give me a storyline. You get my attention. I mean, congratulations. World Baseball Classic, you had me riveted. I cannot believe it came down to that. I cannot believe it came down to every little situation that led to that moment. It was such a fun thing to watch. And only thing I wish is that I could have watched it live with the Japan announcers. It's the only thing that was missing for me as far as the most perfect Shot in the arm for baseball. They're already calling it one of the biggest moments in their last history in a while. You got to remember, baseball is struggling. Baseball is going through a rough time. They are trying everything to get America's attention.
Baseball stuff!
Baseball stuff!
They're making the bases bigger. They've added a damn pitch clock. I mean, we're even considering the box for the umpires as umpires are losing their mind. The attendance has gone way down. The contracts are going way up. Baseball has been in big trouble. We shall see. And I do think this does linger a little bit. I don't know if it carries all the way to the regular season. And we'll see if the World Baseball Classic itself doesn't end up having some issues as far as two major stars got hurt in it. And if you're the Major League Baseball, everything I just did, all the story, all the pageantry, all the wasn't that unbelievable drama. If you're the owner of the Mets or the Astros, you can give a good goddamn about any of this.
I don't care.
You could give a good goddamn about any of this. The fact is, during this World Baseball Classic, and one of the saddest things ever, Mets owner and staff and everyone had to watch their star relief pitcher, Diaz, go down with a knee injury after winning a game, I believe, against Mexico. Not in the actual game. Not in the game. Not in the game. In the post-game celebration. Hurt his knee in a post-game celebration. Then you had Jose Altuve, by the way, for the Astros, fracture his hand getting hit by a pitch. So this might be a moment that you, if you missed, or if you, haven't rewatched and understood the greatness of it, this may not happen as far as all the stars being available, because I'll bet a lot of Major League Baseball owners who are looking at ticket sales and everything else go, dude, I don't care. I don't care about country. I don't care about rivalry. I don't care if you finally get a chance to meet each other on the same field. I don't care about any of that. I am not getting one of my star players hurt. And it happened not once, it happened twice during this World Baseball Classic because of something that's not MLB related. You're not playing. You know, I could really see something happening. So it was a great moment. It was a lot of fun, and you should have been there. Other things you should do is listen to me. I have a new thing I've wanted to add called Shots Called. We're going to do that right now.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
He's calling his shot.
As I told you last time I did one of these segments, and I'm going to continue to do these, just times when I'm right, times when I think I am on to something here. And I told you last time when I was predicting NCAA upsets, I replayed the film and said, look for senior-led teams against freshmen and young guys, and you're going to probably see a lot of those upsets happen there.
See, I done told you. I
was exactly right. Now, this shot called is a little premature, which I understand for some people can be quite disappointing. But as long as I get there, I get there. So kiss my you-know-what. I'm going to play a clip. This is going back to Lamar Jackson. I still think, and now have new reports, I know where Lamar Jackson's going. Baltimore Ravens, non-exclusive tag. He's having all sorts of issues right now with negotiations. It's been a week since the tag, not getting a lot of suitors, and could possibly, after all the smoke is cleared, go back to Baltimore, which I think maybe is the negotiation ploy. But. A couple weeks ago, or right when this just came out, when I was hanging out with my man T, I had made a prediction. I will go to the tape, which I know is extremely arrogant when I'm by myself and like, let's just look at how smart I am and I have no one else to rub it into but myself. But we'll have T back next week and we'll be able to discuss this a little bit more. But here's where I said Lamar Jackson is going, and it's gaining steam, and it makes a lot of sense.
Season, so I don't know right now.
Right here,
I would get
H-Town.
That'd be
The
lit.
Houston Texans.
That would be lit.
The Houston Texans.
So you're like, hey,
are
Deshaun, you went and got
mwah.
that money? Bet. I'm going to go to your city, and they going to give me that bread, and then...
But think about this. Lamar Jackson to the Houston Texans, they have multiple picks that they have picked up through other deals and things they have done. So they have extra first-round picks. They can give up 2 picks very easy. They better have enough cap space considering they have no one signed worth a damn on their team. Not worth a damn. I don't want to be rude, but you know what I mean?
Man. Hey, when they pull up on you, the whole team.
You know what I mean? You're going to beat my ass. D-Hop's gone, though. J.J. Watt's gone. There's no big names that they're currently beholden to with a long-term contract. You don't have your quarterback answer. You do have the draft. But if you're the Houston Texans and you have a former MVP who has proven winning success and can, leadership and all the things, a veteran, not a rookie that you have to mold and hope he becomes a leader. One that's already proven as a leader is sitting out there. All you got to do is pay him some money and give up the Ravens a couple picks. I think this is a no-brainer. I say come to Houston.
Real man of genius.
Still don't know if it's going to happen, but it's starting to make even more sense the more you think about it. And I saw a report last night, ESPN Dan Orlovsky, quote, said the exact same thing. As negotiations are still ongoing, Dan Orlovsky, as I read, said realistically there isn't a massive list of teams who can get a deal done. There are not a lot of options. Houston has the picks. They have a team that will not be a late first-round pick next year. They have the salary cap space. They just have all the capabilities to do it, and believes that the Houston Texans should and could go after Lamar Jackson in this process.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
And it just makes sense on a million levels. I mean, I don't think when you look at what happened with Lamar in Baltimore, and honestly, in a lot of this, I'm sorry, I'm going to blame Lamar. Having your mama and your buddies be your agent. He does not have an agent. He does not have representation. He's one of the 17 of like 2,000 that are actually trying to negotiate. And there's been others that have negotiated their own contracts. But it's an infinitesimally small amount of players who have had the stubbornness and just the outright kind of, not maybe arrogance, but such distrust that instead of trusting the agent to like the 1 to 4% that they're going to get for their NFLPA rights for one, and also their negotiation abilities. No, not Lamar. He's got a couple buddies and his mama.
And I'm going to say that happiness is from magic rays of sunshine that come down when you're feeling blue.
Well, and they've already, again, that was another thing I got right. I talked about that before and said, I just don't think that that's worth the 1 to 4%. It's financial advice is one of the few places that we really, for whatever reason, think that we know as much or can ignore the years of experience, of nuance, of everything, and that we can do the same exact, job. I'm sure Lamar Jackson rolls his eyes to every D1 AA quarterback who had a few wins, at some small blank, blank, blank state telling him, I could be an NFL quarterback. Yet Lamar has the ability, apparently, to negotiate one of the biggest contracts that you could possibly ask for. Arguably, that's what he wants. He wants the Deshaun Watson, which a lot of NFL teams are considering outlier contract of $230 guaranteed, or at least somewhere in that ballpark. And he thinks that he, his mama, and his buddies are going to be able to get this done.
I ain't got a good brain.
That alone, I think, is what's scaring, as Baltimore did a very good job. The Ravens, I will give credit, kind of looked at this situation and looked at the exclusive versus the non-exclusive, which basically states that, okay, we can match any offer you get, but go ahead. Go ahead, Lamar. You don't think that we're offering you the right amount of money. You don't want to look at some of your injury history. You don't want to look at the fact that the Deshaun Watson Cleveland Browns contract was a little silly, and it seems like all the owners have kind of, if not colluded, they have kind of formed an opinion of, yeah, we don't care what he got paid. That ain't going to happen, dog. Like, we're not going to do $230. Money. We're not doing $230 million fully guaranteed like Deshaun Watson. We are not Cleveland. We do not have 35 starting quarterbacks since 1998 or whatever it is, and such an issue at that position that we are just going to go bananas desperate, and we're just going to throw the bag at one guy. Money. I mean, more in kind of line of fully guaranteed. You had Kyler Murray get 189, Russell Wilson got 165, Aaron Rodgers getting 150. I think that the entire ownership of the NFL has looked at that and said, you're not going to get it. But if you really think you're not going to, that you don't have to do it with someone who's actually got his damn family and his mama doing the negotiations.
Don't understand this. You're wrong. Mama's right.
I heard it this morning. They even said Lamar has one of his people calling teams trying to reach out, and he's not the NFLPA. He doesn't have the rights to do it. So they can't even answer it. They can't even answer the phone. They're like, we're busy. And so the only ones that they can talk to directly is Lamar himself or his mom or his inner circle. that is tough to get arguably one of the toughest or strongest, highest paid, most guaranteed deals in history, and you're trying to do it on a team that you missed the playoffs for last year because most likely you didn't really want to risk getting re-injured because you have already 2 years of fighting back and forth over your money, over your contract. All that said and done, though, the Houston Texans, as Dan Orlovsky pointed out and as I've pointed out, as I don't think enough people have pointed out, there's a few things that you would like to have if you're someone looking for the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, which after I've done all this crapping on Lamar, he is the 2019 MVP. He is a guy who's proven that he can win. The win-loss record of Lamar on the field versus off in Baltimore is unbelievably significant. He has proven it from college, Heisman Trophy guy. This dude is a baller. He has no off-field issues that we've ever heard of. And I think that's his argument going back to Baltimore, going like, bro, do I have 40-something women accusing me of pulling my thing out and doing God knows what behind closed doors in a massage parlor? Do I have a year's suspension because of sexual misconduct? I have been just as good, if not better, than Deshaun Watson. He got his bag. I want mine. There's a lot of things to be said for that. But he is, he's a top guy. So the Houston Texans, if you look around, you have a surprisingly small amount of suitors. I kind of blame Lamar. I give Baltimore credit for the negotiation here. I think that they're playing into that. I also think you need, this isn't just what I think, you need to have expendable first-round picks because as the non-exclusive tag works, as most of y'all that are football guys know, they cannot just have to match. Baltimore can match any offer that any team gives, and then also they have to give up the team that takes Lamar away 2 first-round picks. The Houston Texans have the 2nd and the 12th pick in the draft. Not to mention they have plenty of picks behind it as well as they have made trades. They have been in a rebuilding process. You need a team with cap space. I looked it up. Other than the Chicago Bears for the next few years, the Houston Texans are always at the top of the list when it comes to money available in order to maybe give Lamar the amount of money that he wants and then that the Baltimore Ravens would not be willing to match. You also have a team in Houston that could just use a spark. Attendance, by the way, I looked up, is down to 19th. This is football country. This is Texas. We usually support our football teams, although Oilers fans can tell you, if you suck for too long, even a football city will tell you, like, yeah, go ahead and get out of here. We're good, dog. We don't really need all that. So if you're the Houston Texans and you're looking at everything overall, I think you have the money. I think you have the salary cap space. I think you have the need. You have attendance low. By the way, been signing offensive linemen, some threats as far as Schultz at tight end, Cooks at wide receiver. You're rolling out the red carpet for somebody, and while you could take and roll the dice in the draft, with right now, it's already becoming a debate back and forth. Is it going to be C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young? We don't know. Carolina now at the first pick, they seem to like a bigger quarterback, so maybe it is Bryce Young, which some people would say is the best in the draft. You still don't know if Bryce Young's going to be this great thing. You know what you have in Lamar Jackson. I think the whole thing works out perfectly. I say they should get it done. We shall see, but I will consider that my called shot.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Go to Houston.
Calling his shot.
Do want to bring this up real quick. NCAA tournament. I think there's a lot of interesting things going on over the weekend, as hopefully this podcast will be out by the time you will at least see Friday's game where San Diego State, Alabama. I do want to throw out, that is if I'm going to pick an upset, which there's been a ton of in this NCAA tournament, I think I want to go there. I like that one a lot. Senior-led San Diego State likes to slow things down. Alabama starts 2 freshmen, one of them being star Brandon Miller. We've gotten long into what happened off the court. Did he know that he brought the gun to his teammate that led to the unfortunate murder of a young lady and a child losing their mother? We don't know. We do know he did decide a week later to do the pat-down, pre-intro game routine nonsense. So there's a lot going on off the court for Alabama. There's a lot of distraction there. But again, just 2 freshmen.
Alabama!
Versus a senior-led San Diego State. If I was to pick one, I'm going to go ahead with an upset there as I look at some of the Friday games. I do want to mention real quick what I think might happen there. I will take I wrote down Alabama. I'm going to take San Diego State for the upset there.
Alabama!
As also we have Houston. I think Houston cruises to the Final Four. I mean, hopefully they are one of the number 1 seeds remaining. Sasser came back from his injury, so that's good. Had 22 points in 30 minutes in the last game. I think they take Miami. I think they take whoever the winner of Xavier, Texas was and cruise to the Final Four there. We also had Princeton is possibly the last fun little, as a 15 seed. Can they make it to the Elite 8 or the Final Four? I don't know. I know they've beaten a number 2 Arizona and a number 7 Missouri, so that's pretty impressive. And Creighton's not exactly a world beater. Now, we will have the result of this probably by the time you see this. And none of it's really going to matter because I think they lose to whoever wins from Bama, San Diego State. But it will be an interesting thing to watch there. So you have that going on. Final Four for me, predictions, as I'm since on my kind of called shot thing going on here. I will take San Diego State is one of the Final Fours. I have Michigan State, of course. Tom Izzo's teams peak at the right time coming out of the East. I will take UCLA in the Final Four of the West, and then I will have Houston as my Final Four. So Houston, UCLA, Michigan State, Alabama is what I have as my Final Four. Take it, write it down, take a picture. I don't give a damn. I think I'm right.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
We'll see. We'll see. 12 of 16 teams in the final Sweet 16. Last little fun fact on college have not ever won an NCAA championship. A lot of parity this year. A lot of parity. I'm running out of time. I have to get to this. I tease this, and you have to know about the latest just bananas crazy saga. This is just such a sad situation between Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and their families. And unfortunately, this time it involves a woman, Larsa Pippen. Scottie Pippen's ex-wife is now banging, or relations, or has at least seen been being very intimate and has lately admitted to hooking up with Michael Jordan son. Not him. It's not like she left Scottie Pippen after, I want to say, 15, 20 years of marriage to go to his former teammate and kind of rival Michael Jordan. She ends up now, she's with his kid. And there's more to this story, but I will at least play this part. So she swears up and down, and by the way, she's on the Real Housewives of some skank county or something. What just a lovely lady. The whole group of them. There was at one of the reunion shows of the Real Housewives of Miami there. She's on that awful show along with 5 other looks like Barbie doll melted psycho crazy dopey just.
That's dopey talk. That's dopey dum-dum talk.
Not exactly what I would consider, in today's world, high-value wife material. Most of these girls have been pretty ran through and look pretty crazy, in my outside opinion. But, yeah, so they did one of the reunion shows where they're fighting and arguing about every other stupid, you stole my Botox injection, well, you stole my man, well, you had sex with my pool boy, well, you set my car on fire. And at some point they got to now Larsa Pippen, Scottie's ex-wife, and asked her about how she's, banging his teammate and rival's kid and how that seems a little weird. She swears up and down apparently she didn't know or never met Marcus. By the way, it's because Jordan has a few kids. It's Marcus is the one that she's hooking up with. And on this awful reunion show, she swears up and down that they had never met when he was a child, because that might be a little, disgusting. Here you go.
Like, whoa.
I feel like a lot of people don't understand that, I didn't know him. I just met him a few years ago.
Okay.
I never met him before.
Okay.
I was with Scottie the very last year that he played with Michael.
Oh.
And Michael and his wife were going through a divorce. I never met his wife. I never met his kids.
Okay.
So it wasn't like we had families that were intertwined. I never knew them.
Right. But if Michael Jordan's ex-wife started dating Scotty Jr., don't you think you might
No,
be
I wouldn't
like...
care. If my son was happy, I wouldn't care.
Robert from Chicago is curious, if the two of you ended up getting married, would you hyphenate your name Pippen Jordan or Jordan Pippen?
No, that's a big no. That's where I draw the line. Oh my God. Drop the last name. Drop that name.
That's worth hyphenating.
I would hyphenate.
I would not drop.
I would hyphenate it.
I want that jersey.
I would definitely change my last name for whoever I married, for sure.
100%. Thank you.
What is your maiden name?
Yonan.
Yonan. I know that.
Yes.
You think of your dad?
From Chicago.
That's right.
Great news. Larsa Pippen, if she was to now marry Michael Jordan's son, would at least not hyphenate the name for the clout, as some of the other goofballs suggested. She would at least take the one name because, she's a lady.
Oh, good for you.
As she is having sex with Marcus Jordan, Michael's son, who she apparently did not meet as a child, waited till he was in his 30s. She's in her 40s, I believe, to do one of the most, if it's not coincidence, there's not something behind it. She apparently never met him as a child.
Oh, good for you.
There's more to this story, by the way. As if you don't know anything, a lot of people now know about the Chicago Bulls of the late 90s and their 6 championships, the Last Dance, and all the beef that happened there. There's another part to this story I do want to bring up, as this is just nuts. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen specifically still have beef to this day lately because of the Last Dance documentary, the Michael Jordan 10 thing, ESPN. Most of you saw it. As Pippen felt that his part of the story wasn't told enough, and because MJ had final say in the editing and the content of these 10 episodes, that it was too focused on Michael, didn't give Scotty enough love. There's been some beef there. But there's been beef between Michael and Scotty going back to when they played. If y'all don't know, Michael Jordan is one of the craziest human beings that you will ever meet, especially when it comes to competition.
Well, then everyone loses their minds.
Michael Jordan is psychotically competitive in a way that is diagnosable, according to almost everyone who's ever met him, been a teammate with him. And Scottie Pippen was by far the biggest threat to his throne, as far as, it was Chicago, the Bulls, the championships. That was Michael's team. As Scottie got better, they started to, as they got along and they did great on the court, they would butt heads competitively. And some of the things that he would do, just to give you an example, that have been documented, or at least the legend of Michael and Scotty goes that they would bet on everything, and Michael would cheat because Michael does stuff like that. So one of the best stories I heard, one of the legendary stories goes that, if you ever been to a live game, they have the Jumbotron. And as you're watching the Jumbotron, you'll have, during one of the mid-commercial breaks, one of the TV timeouts, they'll have a red ball, yellow ball, blue ball, kind of cartoonish race for 30 seconds. And whoever wins, the red ball, the blue ball, the green ball, whatever it is, somebody in section 415 gets a free Snickers bar and maybe a date with Larsa Pippen. I don't know. But Jordan would bet $100 during the game with Scotty and would win every time, because what Scotty didn't know is that Jordan's such a psycho. He would go before the game and ask the people who run the Jumbotron, who are doing the rehearsals of the films and stuff, which ball won, not tell Scotty, then go back and bet him some money and say, yeah, I think the blue one's going to win. You know what I mean? I think that's the one who's going to win tonight. Give me the money. Money. Jordan's a lunatic. He's crazy. He lies.
Look, it was the big lie. We'll delay the lie for 1 year.
And he'll not tell you about it for forever. So he was doing that to Scotty. But the other part of this, and the Larsa Pippen and the MJ rivalry, and I think the biggest kind of part of this story, the legend goes that all the times that Scottie Pippen didn't win, the one way that he did win was downstairs. Is that there was a big discussion in the locker room that Scottie Pippen,
the most well-endowed.
Yeah. that Scottie Pippen, according to the legends of the issues between him and Michael Jordan, had a big old...
That's a huge bitch.
Big old... No, and it drove Jordan crazy. So one story, Johnny Bach, former assistant, has a story allegedly that when Madonna, remember when Madonna was a big thing? She used to hook up with Scottie Pippen to the point of, according to this report, that she would send not just a limousine to come pick up Scottie after games, but one of those big limousines with like a hot tub in it and everything else. Because according to everything that was said, Scottie,
That's a huge bitch.
And would lay it down for her. So she would be so excited to see Scottie Pippen that she'd send him a limo with a hot tub and everything else. This offended Jordan. And so when Jordan would see Madonna, he would tell her, hey, Scottie can't satisfy you the way I can. And the quote that she supposedly said back was, I sincerely doubt it. And there was a lot of discussion. I guess Scottie, because of everything they went back and forth, would like to rub in. You may have a lot of things, but...
The most well-endowed.
And it drove Michael Jordan crazy. Then there's another report, according to, I believe it was a Horace Grant story, that they even argued over which kid, as both their kids got older, which one of them had the bigger you-know-what.
That's a huge bitch.
Men we're funny creatures. So, yes, the other part of the story that I do want to mention, besides what the video you saw, is if you're Marcus Jordan and you're the Jordans, and this is the only place that you take an L, the other video, if you want to go watch their whole show, is that apparently Scottie Pippen used to have sex with Larsa 4 times a day was the new thing. If you're Marcus Jordan, oh boy. Oh boy.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
I mean, you already had issues if you're Marcus, being a kid who had to live up, and he tried to play basketball, made it to college and stuff, already lived in a big shadow. Now, the report comes out that Scottie Pippen, the guy that was with her for like 15, 20 years, apparently, did her 4 times a day with his you-know-what.
That's a huge bitch.
And you hear that report and you're Marcus, and now you got to follow that up. Just another sad situation of a kid who, I don't know if he's reliving trauma, trying to fulfill maybe shoes that he can't fill out. That makes sense.
The most well-endowed.
That's a tough situation. I think that's the Jordans taking an L one more time. And if you're Scottie Pippen, can you imagine still having to see the wife, the ex-wife, and the kids and have a relationship with someone, and she's not just banging anyone's son, a former teammate's son, but Michael Jordan's son? That is...
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Hell hath no fury. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. We'll talk more about the Larsa thing when I get Tony, because Tony had all sorts of opinions on that. I just thought that was crazy, not just on the fact that it, with everything else that happened between them, but then the son, Marcus, having to find out, oh, by the way, Scottie was apparently laying it down on her 4 times a day. The fact she can walk right now is a miracle. Always love to end with a couple videos here as we discuss quickly March Madness. The one that we might have missed on the women's side was great. We had Oklahoma lost, but if you check this out, the coach of Oklahoma's child, if anyone is a spitting image, talk about trying to represent the family, do it well. I think this mother, the Oklahoma women's head basketball coach, this went viral because her daughter, talk about a spitting image. Check this out.
Come on, Sooners! Do not let them stop you! Come on, defense! Get it, get it, get it! Boom! Yeah! Let's go! Let's go!
Gotta love it. Jordan Bearsick, same face, same scowl. Look at that one more time. This is just fantastic as they have the drop of the head coach and the daughter at the same time.
Come on, Sooners!
Look at those faces.
Come on, defense!
That is her child.
Get it, get it, get it! Boom! Yeah! Let's go! Let's go!
Oh, man. And they think that maybe parents don't influence. It's all school and everything else. That's where the kids get it from. It can't be from, what they see at home. I mean, that is, You don't think maybe the daughter's been watching her do that for the last few years? Only 8 years old, is already like just exactly like mom.
No, Colonel Sanders, you're wrong. Mom is right.
Oh, Lord. Well, I'm looking at the time, folks. Unfortunately, I do think I got to get out of here. We will be back next week. And other than that, you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the Final Four. I will give it to you one more time. I'm going to go San Diego State, Michigan State, UCLA, Houston. We shall see if I am right when I return. We'll find out what happens more in the NBA, and we'll see if any other former ex-wives of any teammates are now banging their sons or their nephews, maybe a long-lost cousin. Who knows? Who knows? But we'll be back. We always are. We'll talk to you then.